My twin sister asked me to be her surrogate, and when I said no, she accused me of ruining her dream of having a family and hasn't spoken to me since. I, 30F, have an identical twin sister who I'll call Stacy for the sake of the story. Our mother unfortunately passed away in child labor and we were raised by our father. Stacy has been married to Jeff for 8 years and I've been in a relationship with Mike for 3 years now. One thing I've always known about my sister is that she wanted to be a mom. Even when we were children she was always thinking about wedding ideas, nursery themes, baby names, etc. I was always more focused on books and having fun. I am now a flight attendant. I'm also attempting to become a published author. My sister has not worked, ever honestly. When we graduated high school we went straight to college. She met her boyfriend in college and once she graduated became a stay-at-home girlfriend until she became his wife. I have known for a while that my sister has been attempting to become pregnant, unsuccessfully. She has experienced a single miscarriage and has been unable to become pregnant again after thousands and thousands of dollars being spent on IVF and pretty much anything they could do because she wanted to experience pregnancy. After 5 years of no success, they have started to discuss other options. My sister isn't interested in adoption and is very adamant on having a child that has both of their DNA, her words not mine. About 3 weeks ago she came to my house and we were hanging out as we usually do, just chatting and watching Modern Family. She told me she had a serious question and needed to ask me while she still had her nerves. It scared me but she asked if I could be her surrogate. I was frozen for a second and asked what she meant. She told me that I know what a surrogate was. She needed me to be her surrogate. I expressed that she knew that I wasn't interested in having children. This could definitely be due to how we came into the world, but I'll be honest and say I have never found the thought of having children appealing in any way. I told her that I would have zero issue with donating my eggs to her, however many she needed she could have them all, but I could not carry her child. Upon hearing that, she became so angry. Her face was so red and she was just yelling about how it's obvious how jealous and hateful I am because this is a small task. I didn't want to bring it to her attention that she has always spoke about having more than 4 kids. Would the expectation be for me to do this every time? I don't know, I'm starting to feel so bad. She ended up telling me that if I couldn't do this one thing for her how could I ever call myself her sister? She broke a picture of us I have sitting on my mantle and stormed out. Since then she's only texted me pictures of her diaries from when we were kids, and all of their vision boards saying that I'm stopping her from creating a family for no reason and to think about the bigger picture. My boyfriend refuses to give me advice saying that it's my sister and he doesn't feel comfortable attempting to sway me in either direction because it's such a touchy subject. Honestly, this is the longest I've ever gone without communicating with my sister and I am seriously on the verge of giving in. Edit, I'm reading all the comments, and I want to say thank you so much. I feel so much better knowing I'm not the villain, but I would be lying if I said I am not leaning towards just doing it. This disconnect with my sister brings me so much discomfort in ways I cannot verbally express, but I see 2 frequent questions I want to answer to hopefully get different answers. Some people asked about money. My mother did not die of natural causes, it was provider error. My father sued the hospital and my sister and I have sizable trusts with that money. So money is not an issue for either of us, and her husband is financially well off as well. So not working for 9 months, or paying for the egg retrieval process etc. isn't an issue in any way. It's more so her stubbornness for the baby to share our DNA and for one of us to be carrying it. Since we're identical, if she can't have a baby, how can I? Her lack of being able to have a child is due to a car accident we were in, which is also the source of the miscarriage she experienced. Due to her being in the front seat with our father, they took the brunt of the crash unfortunately. Her body is now unable to carry a child and she has had extreme complications with egg retrieval. I'm not sure about the details of how that has gone wrong, just that it is not working and not an option. It is hard to get her to discuss non-viable options so I can gain a better understanding. Doctors will not allow me to be a surrogate due to me not having a child. Thank you so much for this information. We have family dinner this upcoming Thursday because we always watch football with our dads and significant others. I'm sure this topic will come up if she decides to attend. I'm hoping I can bring this up to her. First update, 2 days later, so I promised an update tomorrow, but my dad actually ended up calling me while I was hanging out and told me to come over for dinner yesterday night so we could talk. I want to start by saying thank you so much for all the comments and advice. Some of you were jerks to not only me, but my sister and boyfriend as well. I still appreciate the help. I didn't even ask about what when my dad called. I figured he had spoken to Stacy. Based on comments I know you guys won't be happy, but I spoke with my boyfriend about where his head was at if I were to go forward with it. He told me that he loved me and would support me through any and everything, but he would not continue to sit by while my sister made me feel like trash, and if I was doing this under coercion, he would not be able to support me, which I honestly completely understand. When we went over to my dad's for dinner my sister and brother-in-law were already there. I spoke to them both when we walked in but only my sister replied. My brother-in-law gave me the most disgusting look and greeted my boyfriend only. My dad sat us down at the table and there was just this awkward silence and tension I could cut with a butcher knife. He said, "Somebody talk, we need to get this resolved before the game tomorrow night." My dad loves football lol. I started off the conversation by telling her that I did some research and on top of my initial concerns I now had a few more and needed to know exactly what she needed from me. I first asked her what being a surrogate would look like. She just said, "Are you agreeing to it?" When I told her no, I just needed more details, she broke down crying. I asked her if she knew that a doctor would deny me from being a surrogate given that I've never successfully carried a child to term, and she said she knew that and she would just send my brother-in-law and I to a center of excellence. We can pretend we're a couple, and once I'm successfully inseminated, then I would request a transfer from that provider to her option for the continuation of care. My father intervened and said that asking me to do something a doctor wouldn't sign off on was a terrible way to attempt to begin motherhood. You could tell he wasn't on board with any of it but didn't want to pick a side. He asked her why she was so uncomfortable with the idea of a surrogate, and that's when my brother-in-law interjected and said, "Don't try to berate my wife with these stupid questions, talk to your selfish BTCH of a daughter about why she can't help her sister." That immediately shifted the mood. My boyfriend started to yell at him for calling me a BTCH, my dad told him he could not disrespect his daughters in his home, everything just went up in flames. My sister was crying, asking me to do her this favor, practically begging. I told her that if I could trade places with her I would, but I was scared and just didn't want to die. I think that was the first time I had said that out loud ever. We couldn't get more solved after that. My dad asked my brother-in-law to leave because he couldn't control himself and refused to apologize. When he was walking out, my sister told him she would meet him in the car, asked me to come and talk to her on the porch, just the two of us. I went out with her and she apologized for her husband calling me a BTCH, said that they were just on edge and it's been stressful. I told her that she shouldn't apologize for him, and that we'd figure something out. She asked me to reconsider and just kept saying, "You don't get it, you don't understand." When I pressured her for more, she admitted that her in-laws made a cruel joke at one of their dinners recently about how she was a murderer. Referring to the child she lost, she said she asked him why he didn't stand up for her when they made the joke, and he said because it was true. He made some weird comments about her not being able to make up for it and how he was so excited to see what their child would look like, and how he would never be able to look into a child and see pieces of them both, so she had the idea of me carrying the child and he was super on board. But the way she said it was like he planted a seed and she seems to believe it was her idea. She said she hadn't seen him that excited since the baby and she just needed my help to get everything back to normal. I tried to explain to her that nothing would ever be normal again and that what she was trying to do was the wrong thing. But he just started blaring the horn, rushing her to the car, and she said she'd call me later. I feel like I may lose my sister, but I now am not even willing to donate my eggs for her to have a baby with him. I took your guys' advice and looked up the egg donation process and, wow, not at all what I expected. I want her to divorce him. I'm never going to help her procreate with that man. I genuinely think I'd be a surrogate for her to be a single mom before I'd ever allow her to place his child in me or take my eggs to even create a child with him. I had no clue that his family was pushing so much guilt onto her. I have literally been jumping at my phone every time it rings because I know she'll be calling soon and I'll have to tell her that. I'm terrified I'll lose my sister, but I can't and won't do this. Probably won't update anymore, but thanks for all the help. Second update, 6 days later. I know I said I wouldn't update anymore, but so much has happened and I can't explain the weird relief I feel typing my madness onto this website. A lot of you suggested that I be more careful around my brother-in-law for fear that he would become violent. I did not listen, and I kick myself now for not doing so. I thought I knew my family well enough and this was just a bump in the road. How extremely naive of me. My sister called me back the next morning, the day after he called me a BTCH. I unfortunately missed the call because I was in the shower. When I called back, no answer. It was a normal day until we got to my father's house that night for football. Kickoff had just happened when my sister walked in. She asked my dad if he could come outside and talk to her husband. My dad said no because the game was on, and he could either wait until the commercial break or he could come in and apologize like a man in front of everyone who witnessed him disrespect me. She took a breath and told him how he wasn't being completely fair. She tried to bring up a previous situation drawing likeliness, and it infuriated my father. He told her how he didn't raise her to make herself small and weak for a man, and said whatever he did that made her think this how you have a healthy relationship, he was sorry for failing her as a father. Her eyes started to water and she just stormed out without another word. When I went out to my car after the game was over, I had 2 flat tires and a broken passenger front window. My dad put 2 donuts on the car, used his truck to tow the car into his garage, and told me to take his other vehicle and he would get the car fixed and I could come and get it whenever I had time, but not to worry. He asked if I wanted to stay the night. I declined. I called my sister, she didn't answer, so I texted her and said a lot. But for the sake of some of it staying private, it was just I can't believe this is where we are. Loving a man should never call for destroying your family in the process. She responded by saying that's the problem, my family is already destroyed and you aren't willing to help me put it together. I again tried to call her after that, but no answer. On the drive home I noticed a car following me. When I was able to get a better view I realized it was my sister's mother-in-law's car. I know this only because she has a very distinct car decal that I have literally never seen anywhere else. I freaked out and called my boyfriend asking him to meet me back at my place. When I pulled up at home into the driveway, the car pulled in behind me. Luckily my boyfriend was turning down the street. By the time my brother-in-law got out of his mom's car and tried to walk to me, my boyfriend was running out of his car yelling at him. Jeremiah immediately started yelling, I just wanted to apologize. I just wanted to apologize. Him and my boyfriend got into a small scuffle before he got into his mom's car and sped off. He did hit my boyfriend's car in the process. It didn't appear to be intentional and his car is still drivable. After this, I obviously didn't feel too comfortable at home anymore, so I packed a bag and went to my boyfriend's house and haven't really been back home since. My dad did add a camera and floodlight to the back door and driveway, but I'm honestly not too sure I want to go back, although I know I will have to at some point. Yes, I reached out to my sister. No, she did not answer or respond at all that night or the day following. After that, I would notice that on one day a red car would be following me, the next a black one. I know you may say I was scared and just thinking people were following me, but I would notice them and begin to drive to the police station per instruction from my dad, just for them to then turn once the station was in sight. On Sunday, I went to brunch with a few friends to celebrate one's upcoming wedding and discuss bridal shower details. The waiter came to me and told me my husband was up front and it was an emergency, thinking it was my boyfriend and she was just mistaken. I go up to find my brother-in-law. I approached him in an attempt to not make a scene, speaking low, asking him to leave or I would call my dad, but he told me that everything just went too far and he just wanted to apologize. We were kind of in the doorway and it was just awkward people funneling and saying excuse me, so I suggested we step out to get out the way. When we went outside, he apologized for calling me a BTCH and said he didn't feel that way. He told me I didn't understand how hard it was for him, and I cut him off there, saying that how hard it was for him didn't matter to me because his behavior was becoming too chaotic and abusive to not only my sister, but everyone else as well. He told me that he understood how I could feel like that but asked me to again reconsider. He reached for my stomach and I instantly stepped back and told him he needed to leave and we could set up a time to talk with my dad, but him stalking me was an issue and we could talk later or I would call the police. He grabbed a fistful of my hair as I was walking back into the restaurant, saying, "Don't you effing walk away from me." Honestly, I don't remember much after that. Everything just went really quickly and a few bystanders got involved. He ended up fleeing before the cops could come. A report was filed. 2 days ago he tried to come up to my airport terminal, telling them he was my husband and there was an emergency, the same bull crap he pulled at the restaurant. He was arrested after refusing to leave. He has of course bailed out and has since taken to messaging me the most vile messages. My sister did leave after the show he put on at my job. She is currently staying with our dad but has been asking me to drop the charges, making excuses for him, and has been very adamant that he didn't hit me at the restaurant despite my literal scalp bleeding because of how hard he yanked my hair, and the small scratches I have on my neck and arms from him continuing to escalate aggressively when strangers tried to help. Some of the texts are him telling me the vile things he's going to do to me. How he'll get me pregnant and I'll be stuck with him for the rest of my life. How he knows that I'm the woman who is going to bring him a son, and if I don't make it easy for him we'll both die before he gives up. Just really concerning. I blocked his number, so all of these are coming from random text now apps. I told the police and they said there's no way to prove it's actually him, so until he acts on it, nothing can be done. I am literally scared all the time. My boyfriend drives me to work and on top of the regular precautions I take more, and I can barely sleep now. I send my sister a screenshot every time her husband messages me and she has taken to no longer interacting. My dad has asked me to stop doing this because it's beating her down, but I told him that I can't even believe she defended him during some of this and she needs to see the harassment that her husband is committing. I feel defeated. I don't even know if me and my sister can come back from this. I feel like I've basically taken over my boyfriend's life, and I feel terrible about it. He hasn't said anything, but his regular gym visits are cut sometimes if he has to pick me up or drop me off when I have to work or go anywhere else because I'm scared. Being gone for a day due to flights, I know allows him to do more of his routine, but now we're basically forced to live together, which I enjoy, but I'm not sure that he does. We got into an argument the other day about the AC temperature. I feel like my life is slowly devolving into madness and I can't breathe. Third update, 5 days later. This has been absolutely insane. But Reddit has a place in my heart forever. I'm going to shorten this as much as I can. If you have questions I will answer a few when or if I can. My boyfriend realized I was looking into apartments. I absolutely was going to temporarily rent an apartment like an idiot, and asked me why. I told him that I felt like he wanted his space back to himself and he proposed. I'm literally engaged. Now I feel a lot better about taking over his apartment, lol. I posted in the advice Reddit explaining that my brother was escalating. He approached me in a grocery store, but I unfortunately did not do well with standing up for myself there. Not my best moment. He broke into my home, did some damage in my bedroom and broke a few things in my kitchen. He knows I love mugs and espresso machine. No, I wasn't there, and yes, cameras were installed after I took a leave of absence from work. Basically stayed holed up in my fiance's, holy crap, apartment. My sister had been ignoring my texts and not engaging with me until I got a random call. When I answered, she was on the phone sobbing. I asked her what was wrong, thinking something happened to our dad. She explained that she had been following her husband and she knew he was following me. She said she was telling me because she went to the police and they explained they were sending someone out to talk to me. We sat on the phone for 5 hours. She explained that after the hair pulling incident her light bulb went off and she went into private investigator mode. Explained that it got to the point where she was concerned for my safety, which is why she made the decision to go to the police. She apologized for putting so much pressure on me. She said that while she would like to blame it on her husband, a tiny piece of her was actually shocked I said no. She explained that the DNA aspect doesn't matter to her, it was my brother-in-law that insisted on that and she just wanted her family to be whole. She will be staying at my home with me, just temporarily until the divorce is final and the dust has settled. I'm sure he won't make the divorce easy, but they do have a prenup so it shouldn't be too difficult. What do I know, I'm not married. Yet. Sorry, I'm literally so excited. Sidebar, I did find out after my father slipped and shared that my sister actually had proof that her husband burglarized my home. She apparently held on to the information because she needed to decide the right thing to do. He said that when she told him that he told her she didn't have a choice and he made her go immediately. She apparently didn't put up much of a fight. My dad said he feels like she just needed someone to actually say it to her for her to get it, but I'm not 100% how I feel about this. I'm happy that she made the right decision in the end. The police came to my fiancé's apartment the next day. They took my statement and explained to me that they wanted to simply have an agent patrol me for a day in an unmarked and if he followed me, he would be arrested. They didn't inform me of what car was following me, but did say that it would be happening immediately so if I felt I was being followed not to panic basically. He was literally caught within 2 hours of me leaving my fiancé's apartment. We went on a date, and literally as we pulled into the third location he was pulled over and arrested. I drank more margaritas than I should have that night at the restaurant. The detective did tell me I would be getting a call from the DA's office, which I assume will be tomorrow. Honestly, based on how this has all gone, I doubt they'll hold him accountable much. But I am hoping that with them having his phone there is physical proof that he was sending me the text which will add to his punishment. I appreciate everyone who told me to get a gun. I'm actually terrified of guns. A kid from my high school was playing with a gun and unalived himself mistakenly. No, it wasn't in school or anything crazy like that. It was at his home, but when we heard about it, it reinforced my fear of guns. No guns for me. But I did buy bear spray and a knife. I have my first flight back at work this week and I'm so excited to be back to my regularly scheduled program. Today's football games were amazing, and I was able to watch them with my sister, my dad, and my fiancé. I hope I don't have another reason to update this, ever. Thank you all so much.